Good afternoon, Aparna. Thank you for offering to join us today as part of Devereux Chambers' celebration of International Women's Day. I prepared some questions for you, but I thought it made sense to just briefly introduce you to those watching our video. Now, you are a highly sought after tax barrister with a portfolio of high profile litigation, often involving millions, sometimes billions in tax. Your practice takes you regularly to the Court of Appeal and of course, Supreme Court, most recently in De Silva, alongside which you manage an impressive advisory practice, which involves high net worth individuals, estates, and of course, foreign high net worth individuals. Now, obviously, alongside your litigation and your advisory practice, you manage your other roles and identities as a mother of two, a wife, and in my own personal experience, a first-class pupil supervisor. So I am very aware of how busy you are, and I'm very grateful for you making some time to talk to me today. So thank you.
Pleasure.
My first question, what led you to choose to pursue a career at the bar?
I think it's because I like the idea of litigating, putting complex ideas in a simple way to people who aren't as intimate perhaps with the provisions and the legislation that you've become very familiar with as a result of preparing your case. And I like being able to do that, hopefully in an engaging manner. So it's, and also tackling on one's feet any arguments that the other side seems to put that have perhaps spurious attraction. So it's actually quite fun to think on your feet and do that. But the other thing, and this is why I really particularly liked tax, was because it allows you to do the other thing, which is to be able to plan for people. So people have a particular client, say, has a particular outcome that they want. How are they going to do it in an efficient way in terms of tax, but also making sure that they are within the spirit as well as the terms of the legislation. So I particularly enjoy that. And I like the idea, even if it's not my plan that I'm helping to structure or advise on, to be able to work as a team to make sure that that I give the structure as much thought as it's possible so that we can arrive at a green light position, which is really the optimal.
And I mean, specifically, given that this is obviously a celebration of International Women's Day, if you were looking back now on your path to the bar, I mean, what advice would you look to give yourself?
Well, okay, so there are a few things I'd think about. One is is to work out exactly what sort of set you want to be in, what sort of law you want to practice. You should have a fair idea of the law you want to practice in by virtue of your university degrees, which should have helped you to identify where your strengths lie, where your interests lie, and hopefully the two are allied. And your pupillage experience, your mini pupillage experience will have helped you identify the sorts of sets and the ethos within those sets that you seem to like, so that you can narrow where you go quite early on. The next thing I would say is once you succeed in pupillage and you get your tenancy, is to think carefully not only about your day-to-day planning of your career, making sure you get the right clients, making sure you raise your reputation and your visibility as far as clients are concerned, but also to have an idea of where you want to be, say in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years time. The reason I say that is because that's not what I did. And it may be that had I done so, I might have considered applying for Silk earlier or considered applying for panel earlier. And maybe that was a missed opportunity, but we don't know. I mean, it may have made no difference in my case, but it may make a huge difference in other people's cases. So I would say think about that, have a plan of action. And I really do believe that that it's possible to manage one's career in a way where you can get the balance right. So you don't have to be available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can manage your time in a way that you are most efficient, so that you can get your work done to the extent possible within the working week, i.e. the 5 days, long 5 days, but 5 days. Now, I tried that and it worked really well when I was just doing advisory work. And in the run up to Silk, you do an awful lot more litigation. And I have to say that rather fell by the wayside. And I'm struggling to get it back at the moment to get that balance right. But I think it's possible, if one is doing a lot of advisory work with some litigation, to be able to plan one's working week so that one can try and get the work-life balance properly.
We've touched on it, but you took Silk relatively recently in 2019. I mean, that's obviously, I mean, you are an example of a woman has and is making a resounding success of her practice at the bar. I mean, what challenges do you think remain, particularly in terms of women making that transition from maybe a more senior junior position into a silks role?
Okay, so if the question is why are there so few female silks, then I think the answer might be, well, it's historic. There are more women coming to the bar, and as long as we can retain them at the bar at the crucial pinch points, then I think that's that figure shouldn't change. We shouldn't have such a low retention rate going forward if we can make sure that those who join the bar stay at the bar. How do we make sure that that we maintain women within the bar? Well, I think that there's a document that's been produced by the Chancery Bar, Women's Voices at the Bar, I think it's called, but do please just check the Chancery Bar website, which talks about different experiences of people who have been at different levels of seniority at the bar. And I think the principal pinch point has throughout, but also recently, been how does one manage the return to work from, say, parental leave? It used to be just maternity leave. Of course, we're now in more enlightened times. And I think the point is this, isn't it? That a barrister at the bar, whether female or male, should feel able to continue with their career on their terms, in a way that is that allows them to be a whole person, allows them to be the parent, allows them to be a functioning member of society as well as a member of the bar. Now, how can we engender that to the extent that the bar can help with that? Well, I think ensuring that that the transition back into chambers, back into development of one's career is as smooth as it can be, but, and making sure that those who go on parental leave know that they're going to have that support when they want to come back. And well-run sets of chambers will have equality of opportunity. That's a given. It's making sure that there is an assurance and an understanding on the part of those going away on parental leave that they will have that security when they come back, that they will be supported in terms of the transition back into full-time work.
Thank you. I have one last question for you. Slightly different note. Looking back now, assuming you hadn't decided to be a barrister, what would you have done instead?
Do you know, I really don't know. I mean, in my family, they are lawyers, doctors, engineers, and academics. So really not temperamentally suited to being a doctor, not good enough to be an engineer, I don't think. The law really quite always interested me. So had I not been a lawyer, God knows why that wouldn't have been the case, but had that not happened, I would have probably thought about being an academic. I taught at the LSE while I was doing my master's year. I taught while I was doing bar school and for a few years in tenancy, something I enjoy, but I didn't have to do the research. So I suppose I'd have to check to see if I really was cut out to being a proper academic as opposed to just a tutor.
It's always dangerous going back and revisiting those sorts of documents and articles you wrote all those years ago. Anyway, well, thank you very much for your time. It was, as always, lovely to catch up with you.
Thank you very much.